It is commonly known that the world's first great civilizations sprung up along rivers, the most notable being the cradle of civilization in Mesopotamia between the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, and our own Indus Valley civilization situated along the fertile banks of the Indus River. However, despite the fact that both these regions were so close to each other, they developed completely different social systems, cultural practices, and technologies. In today's episode, we will be talking about one such unique invention of the Indus Valley civilization: their advanced urban plumbing system, which may have been centuries ahead of its time. Stay tuned. The Indus Valley civilization flourished in what is now northwest India and Pakistan from around 330 BCE to 1300 BCE. At its peak, it spanned over 1 million square kilometers, making it almost as big as modern-day Greece. This civilization boasted several iconic cities, but two of them stood out: Harappa and Mohenjo. These cities are still standing today, remarkably preserved for thousands of years, providing us with an incredible insight into the lives of our ancestors. However, unlike their Mesopotamian counterparts, the Indus people never called their settlements Babylon or Akkad. In fact, we still don't know what they called themselves. The name Indus Valley Civilization was given by British colonial archaeologists because most of the sites are located in the present-day Indian state of Gujarat and the Sindh province of Pakistan, which together form part of the Indus River Valley. Unlike the Mesopotamians, who built their cities on flat plains, the Indus people chose to settle on higher grounds like hills, giving most of their cities a natural defense. Moreover, their city planning was incredibly advanced for its time. To give you some perspective, when King Hammurabi was busy cobbling together his empire in Mesopotamia, the Indus cities were already equipped with proper sewage systems, something Europe wouldn't see until the 18th century. These cities were meticulously planned, featuring grid patterns of streets and houses. To make construction easier, they used standardized bricks made from baked clay, and every house had its own bathroom with a toilet attached to it. That wasn't even the best part. You see, all the houses in the city were connected to a central sewage system via pipes hidden beneath the floors. Waste from all the toilets would flow through these pipes into covered drains in the streets and then be carried outside the city walls to a nearby river. This kind of urban planning was not only miles ahead of its time, but it was also unheard of in any other part of the world. Today, millions of people around the globe don't have access to basic sanitation facilities. So just imagine how far ahead of schedule the Indus people were in developing such an advanced system. Now, you might think that the sewers were probably just open ditches, but that's not true either. They were actually covered with bricks, much like the rest of the city. And contrary to popular belief, the Indus people did not dump all their waste into rivers, although some of the waste certainly ended up there. You see, besides having covered drains, the streets were also equipped with these manholes would periodically divert the flow of waste into covered brick chambers, where it would be treated before being released into the nearest water body. This treatment process involved letting the waste sit in shallow pools for a while, allowing solids to settle at the bottom, and then diverting the clearer liquid into smaller channels for further cleaning. Today, we use similar methods for wastewater treatment. But back then, people didn't understand bacteria or the decomposition process. Nevertheless, they invented such a sophisticated system to keep their water clean, which raises a very important question. How did they do it? How did the Indus people come up with such a groundbreaking idea? As of today, archaeologists haven't found any definitive answers, but that hasn't stopped historians from speculating. One of the prevailing theories is that the Indus people didn't really invent this system. Instead, they copied it from an even older civilization that thrived in Mehrgarh. This settlement dates back to around 7000 BCE, making it one of the earliest human settlements in South Asia. The people of Mehrgarh kept their houses and streets exceptionally clean, which might suggest that they had some sort of wastewater management system. But since the site has not yet been fully excavated, we can only speculate. What's interesting is that the people of Mehrgarh used bricks in their construction, much like the Indus people later on. And they also kept domesticated animals like cattle and sheep. The discovery of a burial site suggests that they lived in a society with defined hierarchy, and the presence of agricultural tools indicates that they settled in one place and started farming. All of this suggests that the people of Mehrgar may have been the ones to introduce urbanization concepts, like proper sewage systems and brick houses to the Indus people. If true, this would mean that the Indus Valley civilization was not a sudden, self-emerging phenomena, but rather the next step in the evolution of the Mehrgar culture. This theory is further supported by the discovery of artifacts in both Mehrgar and the Indus settlements, indicating a clear link between the two cultures. But wait, it gets better. Archaeologists have recently discovered evidence of what could possibly be the world's first public bath in the ancient Indus city of Mohenjo-daro. This bathhouse, discovered in the lower town near the main bazaar, dates back to around 2600 BCE, making it nearly twice as old as the famous public baths in Mohenjo-daro, Greece. To be clear, the Indus people were not the first to take baths. Archaeological evidence suggests that the people of Mehrgar also enjoyed bathing, as evidenced by the discovery of bathrooms in many of the houses there. However, the discovery of a public bathhouse points toward a communal system for maintaining hygiene, much like the ones we see in ancient Greek and Roman cities. The question is, why did the Indus people develop such advanced civic amenities? Well, one possible explanation lies in the character of their society. As mentioned earlier, the Indus people were not only skilled town planners, but they were also great traders. Their settlements were located along major trade routes connecting Mesopotamia, Central Asia, and the Indian subcontinent. In fact, the Indus people traded with the Sumerians and the Akkadians. They sent them items like cotton, ivory, and precious stones in exchange for things like gold, silver, and bronze. Such extensive trade networks would have naturally led to greater cultural exchange, exposing the Indus people to ideas and technologies from other civilizations. For instance, archaeologists have found seals depicting boats from Mesopotamia, suggesting that the Indus people were familiar with maritime trade. Similarly, they were aware of metalworking techniques from Central Asia, which is why they were able to create such intricate metal artifacts. And lastly, they adopted the idea of keeping their cities clean from the settled agricultural communities in Persia, so the advanced plumbing system of the Indus Valley civilization was not an isolated invention, but rather the result of centuries of development. It emerged from the cumulative cultural exchanges the Indus people had with various settled agricultural communities along their trade routes. However, as the saying goes, nothing lasts forever. The Indus Valley civilization reached its zenith during the mature Harappan phase, which lasted from around 2600 BCE to 1900 BC. But soon after, cities began to be abandoned, settlements were destroyed, and eventually the civilization collapsed. Some historians blame climate change for the fall of this great civilization, pointing toward a gradual drying up of the Indus River as evidence. Others blame it on rising sea levels, which may have led to saltwater intrusion and a loss of fertile land. Still others argue that the civilization was simply too advanced for its time, and that its people created problems for themselves by building such complicated systems. Whatever the reason, the Indus Valley civilization disappeared, leaving behind only its monumental legacy and countless unanswered questions. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and comment below. If you want us to cover more topics like this, we would love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.